ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It's Hoist the Colors, Monday, August 18th. 10 days away from kickoff between East Carolina and NC State. It's hard to believe it's almost here, but we're getting there and excited about the 10 days ahead to preview and finally kick this thing off. We had Media Day this past weekend inside Town Bank Tower at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. That was a blast. We'll have takeaways from that here shortly. We also have Mike Schwartz going to join us, ECU basketball coach. We'll talk some hoops. Got a great interview with Coach Schwartz on the way. That'll take up the majority of today's show, and looking forward to that. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, X. If you got a question, comment, drop it there. We'll try to get to it. We'll be free most of the rest of the week where we can take your questions and answer them as we see fit. But we'll try to get in today if you've got something to add as well. Philip Pilkington is behind the glass inside the 94.3 The Game studios. He not only was at the ECU women's soccer game against State last night, which, by the way, 1-1 tie there. We'll get into that in a little bit. But he was at Media Day, so he was working the full weekend. He's here. He was here this morning when we interviewed Coach Schwartz. So, Philip, I guess we'll dive right into it because we got to get moving. Your takeaways from Media Day. I guess we'll start with your biggest overall takeaway. Does one jump to mind from ECU football Media Day?
Yeah, I know this is maybe not the sexiest pick, but I'm going to go getting to meet Mike Wright, man. So I asked JDB, I got to start JDB before Mike, and asked him, what made Mike come here? Look, he could have went somewhere where he was guaranteed a starting job, or he could have went somewhere, he's been at the Power Four, so, maybe he could have got more money somewhere. I don't know. And he said because he's a winner and wants to be part of a winning program. And then when I talked to Mike, I can tell you that dude's a winner. I think he's a winner on the football field. I think he's going to be a winner at life. Just his attitude towards everything and everyone around him, you can tell he's definitely bought into the team atmosphere. I know we're not really supposed to have favorites, but dare I say he might be my new favorite player. Just a great young man. It was so cool getting to talk to him. I chit-chatted a little bit before the interview as well as after, just kind of getting to know him. I mean, he seems like he's really happy to be in Greenville. He's embraced the folks of Greenville, and he's excited for his first game in Dowdy because he's ready to see Dowdy packed out. So he even, talked about him and JDB kind of going back and forth because they had played each other in an Egg Bowl. And he likes to junk talk a little bit. So just a great guy. And so that was my biggest takeaways. I think this dude is here to win, and I hope we get to utilize him some this year. From what we hear, it's going to be a one quarterback system, but maybe we can find other spots for him on the field because he's one heck of an athlete.
Super impressive individual, and I do agree. Like, he's one of those guys, as you talk to him, and look, this is the time of year where everything is rosy, but usually I feel like we have a decent read on people. We talk to a lot of people in these interview settings, and it felt genuine talking to Mike Wright. I do think he's in it for the team. A couple other standouts for me, Philip, the running backs. We know Marlon Gunn. We know he's got the great personality, but I really enjoyed getting to know London Montgomery, Parker Jenkins. I think those three guys have a bright future in the immediate future and also long-term, obviously, in this running back room. They seem to be pulling for each other. They all bring a little different something to the table. Also learned that Parker Jenkins, his OC in high school was Rodney Freeman, who is now the running backs coach at ECU, so that was an interesting nugget. One of the other common themes that I've written about on Hoist the Colors, again, it's preseason, everything's great, but this team went out of its way to talk about how close they are on and off the field. Part of that, we heard about it early in preseason camp, but no phones at the dinner table during their team meals. And that sounds elementary in some form, Philip, but you think about it, how easily a phone can just take you away from what's happening immediately around you. You see it as people are walking around town, they got their AirPods in, listening to something, or just on their phone all the time. And multiple guys, 5 guys went out of their way to say that they know their teammates better than ever before. And I think look, we'll see what happens when they face some adversity, but I really think there was a concerted effort to make that happen this year. Tegan Wilk, a 6-year guy, specifically talked about it. He's been here for 4 previous years, and he says his team is closer than ever. So I think that says something coming from him and coming from a lot of these older guys.
And it started with Coach Harrell in the press conference before, where he mentioned, you used to put all the guys in camp in the same dorm, and they were forced to hang out together. But now guys live here, guys live there. So when they leave the facilities, they're not as forced to be around each other. So how do you make up for that? You put them together in the facilities. And, yeah, like you said, it's this thing that's supposed to help us connect more has actually caused us to connect even less. So great job by Coach Harrell and the staff. And, hey, when you want to go, when you know somebody, I can tell you from just personal experience, when you really do have that brotherhood, it makes it that much easier to go to war for the guy next to you. And there's something, as you said, about football is a mental game. Yeah, you got to have the Jimmies and the Joes, but sometimes those Jimmies and Joes just got to love one another and know how to work together more than just talent.
All right, Cameron says big takeaway for him, Mike Wright is amazing. Jim also saying on Media Day when asked if he would be throwing passes to Mike Wright, Katenhauser said, I'm not commenting about that. So they're keeping the Mike Wright stuff, as they should, in-house, just like NC State is keeping stuff in-house. Cameron says he heard that NC State running back / receiver Jonathan Paylor blew out his knee at their last scrimmage. Most likely will miss the ECU game. I have heard that as well, Cameron. This rumor going around unconfirmed at this time, but we'll find out soon enough as game day just 10 days away. All right, let's go ahead and get a break in. We've got a lot of Mike Schwartz to get to. Talk with him earlier. Tremendous interview with Coach, the men's basketball head coach, ahead of his 4th season at the helm of the program. We'll have comments from Coach after this. This is Hoist the Colors.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Allen, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Like all Pirates, Stephen Igo is loyal and bold. He may also have a touch of scurvy. Back to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
It is a Monday edition of Hoist the Colors. We're 10 days out from kickoff for the football season, but we're going to talk some basketball right now. Last week we had Kim McNeil, women's basketball coach, on the show. Now we've got the men's head basketball coach. He is Mike Schwartz. It's been a busy offseason for the Pirates head man. And Coach, I just got to ask you, obviously, roster turnover pretty common this day and age across college sports, but you got some key pieces back. And just generally speaking, how has this offseason been for you thus far, putting the new pieces together?
Yeah, man, great to speak with you guys. And look, I'm excited as ever about kickoff coming up, man. Can't wait for the Pirates to hit the field, and then looking forward to that next week or 10 days away. From our standpoint, it's been a strong summer. It's, as you mentioned, I think this is just the new age of college athletics, as we've talked about many times. But in terms of the rotation, roster, turnover, et cetera, what we're excited about, Stephen, is that we were able to maintain a good amount of the core of last year's group. And I think you and I have spoken about this off the air some, that in our 3 years here, we've been able to retain our leading scorer every single year that had eligibility remaining. Obviously, R.J. Felton and C.J. Walker graduated and moved on to their professional careers, so they didn't have any eligibility left. But Jordan Riley being our returning leading scorer that had eligibility remaining, and he came back. And in our first 3 years, whether it was R.J. the first 2 years and now Jordan Riley. So as much as everyone talks about the influx of new players and all of this roster turnover, I think we've tried to stay really keen on the fact that retention and bringing your core back is really important, and very excited about this group in terms of that.
Coach, I wanted to ask before we get into some of the personnel, and we'll talk schedule later as well. I wanted to highlight your coaching staff a little bit, because I feel like we don't give those guys maybe as much recognition as they deserve. But, earlier this offseason, you promoted Riley Davis to associate head coach. Josh Jardine has been a guy who's been with you for a long time that, in my opinion, doesn't get enough credit. And Jalen Bond, Ajay Poole, Michael Perry coming back. So just your staff, along with your support staff, how do you feel like that group, really looks going into year 4 of your tenure?
Really appreciate you bringing that up, because I think they are as much the heart and soul of this program as anything. And I've said this so many times that I couldn't be more excited about this coaching staff from the first day we got here, in terms of who has stayed, who has remained, and the additions that have come in. I mean, we really have been able, a lot like the roster, to keep a certain consistency with our coaching staff, which I think is important. Up until this year, we had lost 3 staff members, and one was to Florida State, one was to Texas, and one was to Ole Miss. So everybody was able to took into the P4. They took a position in moving that direction, and that's a good thing, because that means good stuff was happening here. That means they were well thought of for an opportunity to continue to advance. And then this off season, we were able to add, as you said, Jalen Bond, who we are familiar with. He was a player for Coach Barnes at Texas. He was a player for Coach Dunphy at Temple. He was a GA at Temple. He was there both with the last 2 coaches, including Coach Fisher, who's there now. He graduated there in his last year there. And then he was with Dwayne Killings at Albany this past season. So, and been a professional player, including playing in the G League. So very excited about Jalen and adding him. And then you talk about, as you said, Riley Davis, associate head coach, Josh Giardina, who's been an assistant coach from last year but continued to elevate this year, Michael Perry, who was an assistant coach and now has been able to pick up the responsibility and the title of general manager in this new world of college athletics. So you kind of got to focus in that lane, and he's done a great job with that this summer. So, and again, we know who's already been here the entire time when you talk about Jesse Higdon and our strength coach, Colton Susan, and Nate Clark, our trainer. And then Ajay Poole came in this past season, who was a great addition to us. So when I look at all that across the board, you said something really important. When I think about our retention, recruiting, the hopeful success that we're going to build on, whether it's on the court, off the court, the culture of our program, scouting, really, really important, and just the day-to-day, I just couldn't be more thrilled with this coaching staff, and I just think they deserve all the credit in the world for what hopefully we've been able to establish and will continue to build on. And I thought they knocked it out of the park this spring in terms of recruiting, so very much excited that we'll have this group together going into next season.
We're visiting with Mike Schwartz, ECU basketball coach, and I do want to talk about some of the returners here in a minute, Coach Schwartz. But, recruiting is so interesting these days, and you guys obviously are recruiting the portal, you're recruiting JUCO, you're recruiting high school, and we all know that at times it can be a bit of an unknown. I mean, you do your best to evaluate these guys, but you don't really know until you get them on campus. And, just early on, very early stages of the offseason, are you pleased with kind of, the workouts thus far? Like, as you look at some of the personnel on the court, like you guys feel like you hit on some of the incoming pieces?
Yeah, really, we really are, Stephen. And I guess the big thing is in the spring, and I'm going to go back to the coaching staff and just the detailed homework and intel that they put in, whether it was junior college, high school, international, or transfer portal. We really wanted to try and focus on two main areas going into next season, both with what we lost in terms of guys leaving, graduating, and then what we were trying to add in terms of trying to put this roster together. So the retention piece, we were able to retain a good amount, and I know we'll talk about that. From a standpoint of bringing guys in, what we really wanted to focus on was size in the front court. That was a big deal for us. We wanted to get bigger for next season, and we think we did. And then outside of one position, meaning the true center position, Giovanni Emajuru that we're excited about from George Mason, everyone else we took perimeter shooting into heavy consideration. In terms any position you were, it didn't matter if you were a forward, a guard, a wing, it didn't make a difference. So we feel like with that, those two areas, we added size in the front court particularly, and in terms of incoming guys, regardless of what their status was in terms of where they came from, high school, junior college, international, or portal, that we wanted perimeter shooting, and that was a real key component in terms of who we were going out there trying to get. And throughout our 8-week training camp, I think we saw the benefit of those two areas. We saw that. Doesn't mean everything's perfect. It doesn't mean everything worked exactly the way we thought, as you said, because it just never plays out like that. You're going to make those adjustments as you see once they get on campus. But those two, size and shooting, we do feel like we added. And, again, I think the coaching staff did such a great job of going out, evaluating that, identifying it, and then we went in and we were able to bring them in this summer.
Jordan Riley is back as your leading scorer, as you mentioned, eligible to return 14.5 points per game. Last season, 6 rebounds per game. We all know what he brings defensively, athletically, and being honest, Coach, like I didn't know what to expect from Jordan last year, but just sitting down and talking to him in the preseason, he was such an impressive young man, and I don't know, he feels like he has all the traits to be a leader. I know he's a little quiet by nature, but do you feel like that's a role along with his production he can take a step in this offseason?
I do. I really do, and he did it this summer, and you make a great point. Obviously, he's in terms of what he did production-wise, what he did minutes-wise, just all across the board. But it goes back even more importantly, and you said it when you spoke with him, he's just a really incredible human being. He's a solid person. Everything he does, the way he is on the court, he is that way off the court and vice versa. He takes his academics very seriously. He's got 2 great parents in Karen and Monty Jordan that are just phenomenal people. He's been around great coaches coming up, whether that was in his prep or into college at Georgetown and then Temple. And so he's just such a solid person, and I truly believe that carries over to who he is as a basketball player. And the leadership part, he understood his role last year, and we've talked about that, and along with Jay Woodard also. They knew what R.J. Felton was to this team, what C.J. Walker was to this team. And I think anytime somebody's willing to accept a certain role or understand where they fit in and where they can be best, and their ego isn't big enough to affect that, that's a special person and a special player. And Jordan Riley fits right in that. And then by the same token, he knows we need that from him this year. Leadership, guys following him, guys hitching their wagon, as we say, to him, and the way he works and the way he takes practice so seriously and what he does off the court with his body and academics. So across the board, he really has done that this summer. And, it's like you said, I think it's still a process. I still think he'll keep getting better and better and with it and stronger and more comfortable. And that's where he's at right now. But he had a very good summer doing exactly what you said.
And just curious, as a follow-up on Jordan, Coach, like, look, we know his strengths. I mean, he is dynamic in transition. He's just an incredible athlete. He can finish around the rim. And like he shoots the ball well at times. At other times, it seems like he's kind of streaky. Like, how realistic is it that he can improve consistently in that area? Like, I'm sure it's an area of focus for him, or is it something where you ask him to really focus on the strengths? I don't know, how much do you guys emphasize, hey, if you can become a legitimate three-point shooter, you can really take an even bigger step as a player?
Well, I think there's no doubt about that, and I think we can go back to guys like Brandon Johnson that was here, or R.J. Felton. They were not shooters by any means when we first got here. And I think you could go across the country and look at guys like that. But just, for us here that everyone can relate to, you look at R.J. and Brandon. And Jordan Riley's no different. And without a doubt, we've only had him 1 year. Without a doubt, there is a huge emphasis on that. But I've always said this, that any player, of course, there is no complete player where every single thing they do at the same level or they do, perfectly. That's athletics, as you know. It doesn't matter what sport it is. And sometimes people get so wrapped up with trying to look at areas that maybe isn't their strong point and either showing people they can do it or saying, hey, I have to get that area to be the best just because it's not right now. And I actually think, sometimes you lose out when you do that. The reality is what you want to do is where are your strengths and make those unstoppable. Make that the best of the best. In our opinion as a coaching staff, it is better to be elite in 2 or 3 areas than it is to be, good or average across a bigger spectrum in terms of individual skill. But there is no doubt it's continually worked on, emphasized, focused on in workouts. All summer he's worked tirelessly at it, and he's shooting the ball well. But will Jordan Riley as a three-point shooter ever be what he is as an athlete, a driver, a mid-range player, a rebounder, a defender, a transition player, and a finisher at the basket? Probably not, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with that because that's what separates him and allows him to be what we think was an all-conference player last year and surely will be a preseason all-conference player going into this season, and he will continue to work on the perimeter and three-point shooting, and that will be something that is just a big addition to his game versus what he's defined by.
No doubt, great player, regardless of the perimeter shooting. Jordan Riley is. A couple other guys back for you, Coach Schwartz, and two again. It's a common theme, but two great young men that I just really enjoy talking to. Jay Shane Woodard, also Travion LeBeau. Both guys were first-year JUCO transfers last year, and I just know covering various sports, it feels like JUCO guys when they get into year 2, they really take a leap. Are you seeing that with Jay Shane, Trevi this offseason thus far?
Absolutely, and you hit it right on the head. That is sometimes a transition point for junior college players, and I thought both those guys did a phenomenal job adapting quicker than what you would say traditionally is junior college players coming in, whether it's being able to make an impact or get accustomed to this level, this high major level of college basketball. But I thought both guys did a fantastic job last year. Both of them this summer took that next step, both vocally, leadership-wise. Well, I would say Trevi has always been a leader from day one, and that is what separates him a lot, like we just talked about Jordan, and what makes him who he is. One of the things that can't be seen in the stat sheet is Travion LeBeau's leadership quality, just his basketball IQ, ability to do everything on the court and know exactly what we're trying to accomplish. And so he continued to go in that direction. And then Jay Shane, same as we spoke about, he knew what his role was last year, and I thought he did a phenomenal job finding that way of fitting in. And he knows this year, this summer starting, we need a little bit more aggressive offensively from him. We need him to be a little bit louder, more vocal, and he really took those skill sets and put it into play in practice all summer. So, yeah, as excited as we are about Jordan coming back, to have that core group of 3 along with a few others, I think is a huge piece, and all 3 of them have taken nice steps this summer.
All right, he is head coach Mike Schwartz. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll continue on looking at some of the roster, including some of the new pieces after these messages.
storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
For over 51 years, Parker's Barbecue has brought families together with our award-winning whole hog barbecue and fried chicken. Tradition is important at Parker's Barbecue, and for 3 generations, the Parker's Way has stood the test of time. Whether you visit our dining rooms or drive-thrus, use our on-site catering, or even use our nationwide shipping, the hospitality, barbecue, fried chicken, homemade sides are still the same.
We are the Parker family. Come in and let our family show you. This is the Parker's Way.
As we set sail and hoist the colors.
Ahoy, me hearties.
Back to Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
We are back on Hoist the Colors, a Monday, August 18th edition, talking some hoops. Mike Schwartz, ECU head basketball coach, remains on with us, and we just got done, Coach, talking about some of your more prominent, well-known returners, but I also want to mention as well the return of LaDante Felton, obviously coming off a redshirt year, younger brother of RJ. Tybo Bailey, we saw a little bit last year as well. And then Reed Kaysen coming back for your program, big man in the paint. So those 3 guys maybe not getting as much recognition, but obviously a big part of your program and a chance to, as always in your program, make kind of that leap and develop over time.
Yeah, and, I'll start with Reed. And Reed, will have a new role this year at this point, which we're excited about. Reed last year really gave backup minutes to C.J. Walker at the 5. I thought he did a phenomenal job for us in terms of being a freshman who was not here for the summer and then missed some time, critical time early in the season that really would have been big. I mean, at one point he had played, I think, close to 10 minutes in a game, and then right when he had a game early in the season, he then was out for about 3 weeks, and that kind of stunted his development in terms of being ready to make an impact as a freshman. So when I talk about his role, Reed has slid down to the 4, is playing more at the 4 this summer with the additions that we've added. I know we'll talk about some of the new guys at the 5, and he will continue to play inside at the 4, absolutely. And our 4s also do play in the paint, and that's what we look to do, as we talked about earlier, in adding size. So we want to be a more physical, bigger front court. But Reed played a lot of 4 this summer. He added 10 to 15 pounds. And you can see his overall aggressiveness, his overall confidence level being much different this summer in terms of understanding what we expect for him, what we need him to do. And, he had a really good summer. So very excited about Reed and his development at that 4 position. But, again, he will play, at the 5 as he did last year some. And then Tybo Bailey has had a strong summer. Tybo came in last year, particularly in that UTSA game at home, and after not playing quite a bit. He showed us a lot coming in that game and helping us win that game, that overtime game, which is an exciting game late in the season. And Tybo, again, has also had a good summer and never really had a chance to quite show what he's capable of doing. I still think it'll be a transition time for him and any young player that didn't play. But what we need Tybo to do is we need Tybo to be a really good shooter for us at that combo guard position. He could play at the 1, he could play at the 2. He's really a secondary ball handler out there at any time if he's not at the point guard, which is great. But where Tybo can really help us this year is if he becomes a guy that we can really count on to knock down the shot from behind the arc, to knock down the 3 ball, and be an elite defender. That would be a great role for him going into this season for our team. But I'd say one thing about Tybo, his work ethic, his intensity, and how hard he practices every day is right at the very top of the team. And then LaDante, returning player, LaDante Felton, everyone knows him as RJ's brother, but he is going to create his own identity here, and he will, and I think that's exciting, and it should be. It may take time. LaDante, like any young player, he redshirted for a reason last year to get acclimated. I think LaDante, the role that he has to buy into for us right now is to be an elite defender that truly understands our system and can go in there and be almost a defender to get his feet wet and get himself going playing, in games. But he's had a strong summer doing that too. That year of redshirting is really valuable, and I expect LaDante to continue to grow as a player as he finds his role.
Let's get into some of the new guys, Coach, and I know you're very excited about some of these guys. We'll start with Corey Calker, the junior college transfer from Eastern Florida State. Was an All-American the last 2 years at 2 different JUCOs and former Louisville commit. 6-foot point guard. Seems like just a true point guard. Can shoot, can distribute, can score. What are you seeing out of Corey thus far in workouts?
He had a really strong summer. I mean, he was as good as anybody this summer, and a lot like Jay Woodard and Trevi LeBeau last year, junior college player that came in that hit the ground running. And I could definitely say that Corey has done that this summer, which is what we were looking for. We talked earlier about the skill sets and kind of the intangibles that we were looking for in terms of size, in terms of shooting. But positionally, our 2 biggest priorities going into this summer was point guard play and a true center. And I know we're talking about Corey right now, and we'll get to the center position. That's what Corey is. He is a true point guard. We also feel like, we'll talk about Isaiah Mbang, his ability to play the point. But we went out with Corey and said he is a true point guard that we were very excited about through the process. As you mentioned, what his history was in junior college and being a Louisville commit. But Corey has had a nice summer, and he's really, again, the point guard position is the most difficult position to play. It takes time to learn, and he has to know every position. A point guard is like a quarterback. It's not just about knowing their position. They got to know every position on the floor. And that's going to be a process for anybody coming in. And I don't care if you're a transfer, junior college, high school, it doesn't matter. That is the normal process for a point guard. We put a lot of emphasis on that for our point guards, but Corey fit right in there, and he's had a nice summer doing that.
Giovanni Imajuru, Coach, I remember talking to you after he signed. You were pretty jacked up, to say the least, and look, 6'10", 262 is what he's listed at, and just a true big. Nobody's going to want to go into the paint and run up against that dude. So just what does he bring to your team?
We're going to get Gio those old Patrick Ewing shoes that Patrick Ewing used to play in, so he can be a legit 7-footer. They probably weigh about 8 to 10 pounds each shoe, so we'll call him 7 feet. 280 is what he'll get to when he's wearing the right apparel. But no, he's had a strong summer. His summer started a little bit later because he was finishing up stuff to be a full graduate at George Mason. So just that process of going through. So he is a grad transfer, and he received his degree, and now he's starting his master's here. So he got a little bit of a later start this summer. But he is what you just said and what we spoke about back then when he signed. He is a true center. And that was, again, point guard and center. We wanted those bookends this spring. And the coaching staff did an awesome job going out. We feel like we got the exact 2 that we wanted in terms of that, the point guard and the center. And Gio has no desire to play on the perimeter. He's going to continue to evolve and grow his perimeter skill. He's shown more than actually we thought, to be honest, and that's something that's exciting, his ability to maybe drive the ball from the top of the key or drive the ball from the short post, which we put our guys in those positions. You know, we were pleasantly surprised with that. As you know, you don't always know that until you get a chance to work with them every day. But in the end, what he is a true physical post player that thrives in contact, thrives in physicality, and that's what we wanted. And as you said, he is a legitimate 6'10", 270 true center, and he's had a nice summer and continue to grow in our system as he's only really practiced with us for 6 weeks.
Eli Delorier is another big guy. You added not as physical as Gio, but still pretty dang big and can play. You know, he can shoot from the outside as well. So what have you seen out of Eli? I know that y'all recruited him a little bit out of high school originally before he was at Providence.
Yeah, you know, we were excited about we saw him briefly late, and he was actually a senior that was thinking about coming out early but wasn't sure, had the ability to go back, and we're sitting there watching him and saying, man, well, you know, maybe he's young. He was thin. He needed to add weight. And we kind of just briefly got involved and started to do it, and the next thing you know, he was going to Providence. And, you know, I think Mississippi State was recruiting him at the time, and he just made the decision. He made a great decision. You guys know I'm very close with the Providence coaching staff. Kim English there, and I.J. Poole was a coach at Providence, so I.J. coached him. So all that being said, Eli has put on weight, which he needed to this summer. You know, he's still a guy that has only played one true year in college because of the year before. You know, he didn't. Last year he played, but didn't play heavy minutes. He played the perimeter 5 for them at Providence, so it was more on the perimeter. So he does have that perimeter skill, and he can shoot the ball, as you alluded to. But for us, he'll be playing more the 4. Again, a lot like Reed. Now, we need him to provide some physicality inside, and he can do that. But where Eli really separates himself in terms of what he does, his strength, he is a very good passer. He's got a high basketball IQ. He can play on the perimeter. He can shoot the ball. Maybe a little bit similar to a Brandon Johnson, if you think about his kind of game. He's in that mold, the ability to play down low, but Brandon was more comfortable playing on the perimeter. And so that's where we wanted to go continue to add that size with skill, and that's where Eli fits in, and he's had a good summer.
Coach, you mentioned obviously Reed, who's a 6'10" guy. You mentioned Eli, who's listed at 6'10". Gio. I mean, do you envision playing these guys? If it works out together. I mean, I know you've kind of alluded to that, but how do you kind of envision that playing out, and how that would set you guys up defensively, that sort of thing? Is that kind of a goal of yours?
That's the plan. There's no doubt, and I have no problem saying it. We didn't bring all those big guys in to just play behind each other the whole time. We brought those guys in to play with each other. And again, we still have, I know we'll talk about Vito Perkovic, who's every bit at 6'10", and I know and Luke Davis, who came in. So we do feel like we do have legitimate size up front, and the plan is for those guys to be on the court at the same time, and hopefully the strength and the benefits that we can get from playing like that will outweigh some of the challenges defensively, as you said. I mean, this is a time in college basketball where everyone plays guards at the 4 spot and switches everything, and we've had to do our fair share of that in the first 3 years, particularly last year, moving C.J. Walker up to the 5 to try and get the most we could out of him offensively. But it did hurt us in some ways defensively, and so, yeah, we'll make those adjustments, and we'll have to find the right style for them to play as 4 men and playing there, guarding maybe smaller players. But you know what? Those guys got to guard them too, and those guys got to deal with them on the defensive glass, offensive glass. They got to deal with 6'10", 250, offensive rebounding. They got to deal with them posting up. So there's going to be a balance, and that's what we're in the process of doing right now. We've had an 8-week training camp. We love what we saw, but we know this will continue to take shape, and I hope we can do what we've continued to do in all of our years here, is be playing our best basketball as we get into January, February, March. And I think we've consistently did that. I think last year with the stretch we went on in February and March, that's what we want to do. And I see this team being no different, particularly because of the stuff we just alluded to.
We're visiting with Mike Schwartz, ECU basketball coach. A couple more things for Coach. We'll get him out of here. Isaiah Mbang, you mentioned him earlier, but Also a guy who can play the point and was at William & Mary last year coaching, and kind of quietly on a pretty good William & Mary team, had a really strong year. So what have you seen out of Isaiah, a guy to me who feels like kind of a bit of a steal in the portal, this offseason?
Well, his work ethic is awesome. The way he works, his intensity, his focus, his care factor for this game, the game of basketball, doing things the right way, his passion, man, I think you guys know that's a big word for me, having passion about what we do and what we have the opportunity to do every day together. And Isaiah has that, and he shows it with the way he carries himself, with the way he works. As a basketball player, again, you also made this point, William & Mary was a really good team last year, and he's been well coached. He was just a freshman. He was on the All-CAA rookie team. He was somebody that led their team in assists as a freshman, playing 19 minutes a game, I believe, and they play a very up-tempo system. So, a lot of that stuff happens in transition, which is great, so he can make decisions to be able to be a guy that was a plus assist-to-turnover ratio guy as a freshman. In his last 10 games of the year last year, he shot roughly 50% from three. His overall numbers were in the mid-30s from behind the arc, but late in the season, again, stuff that we went back and looked at. How did he do once maybe he adjusted to the college game and conference play, so he shot the ball very well late in the season, last 10 games. And then think about him defensively. I believe he led them in steals or was at the very top defensively, so he's got good anticipation skills, good hands, and just an overall high IQ basketball player that can play the point, can play at the two. We can play 2 points together with him and Corey on the court at the same time, which I believe and I know will happen. So you said it. I mean, a guy that basically averaged 5 and 3, close to 6 points, 3+ assists as a freshman, that plays defense and really works hard and cares about this game. We're very excited for him. And he was just a freshman last year, so the best is in front of him. He probably added 15 pounds of muscle this summer. And I think Corey is going to really thrive here at ECU. Excuse me, Isaiah. I think Corey will too, but I think Isaiah and Corey will really thrive here at ECU.
Hey, Coach, you guys added a trio of freshman scholarship players as well. Vito, I'll see if I can get all these pronunciations right. You're really challenging us, but I kind of like the international flavor. Vito Perkovic, Paddy D'Arcy from Australia, and then Dahi Quinn. Did I get them all right, Coach? And just what is that group? What do they bring to the table potentially?
Well, you got them all right. You hit them perfect, and we'll start with Dahi real quick, and just because unfortunately he suffered an injury playing with his national team this summer. He was fortunate enough to be in the Ireland national program and one of the better players in that program, and he just unfortunately suffered an injury while he was in another country playing this summer, and so we will. Because of the time he will miss, he will not end up playing this season. And so, he's on his road to recovery already, and everything's going well. But unfortunately, we will not have Dahi with us. And, and that hurts. You hurt for him more than anything. And we definitely had big hopes and plans for him to be with us this year and the impact he could make. But, we'll just have to wait till next season for that. But as far as when staying online with guards, Paddy D'Arcy was a late sign out of Australia, kind of the equivalent of a guy over there that was part of their professional league but on the amateur team, kind of what the G League would be here. It's structured different over there, as you guys know. There's no high school basketball, so to speak, and colleges are different. So you play part of clubs, and he is someone that's very well thought of there. He's played in the NBA Global Academy for the Australian team. We actually saw him when he was 15 years old 2 years ago play, and we loved him then. So when he came back around as somebody that was looking to go to college and come to the United States to do that, we were very excited. 6'5", 6'6", has to continue to gain strength, but can shoot the basketball, very skilled, knows how to play. I mean, he didn't necessarily play a high in terms of minutes there, but every day in practice, those kind of clubs practice with each other, and he's practicing with former NBA players, including Montrezl Harrell, who's here from North Carolina. So, he has been exposed to high-level talent, high-level competition, and he has been in those environments. And then when he played with maybe it was the U19 or one of the U teams over there, he led the tournament in three-point shooting in one of his, in one of higher-level competition tournaments. So skilled guard, 6'5", 6'6", long, has to continue to gain weight and get stronger. But his mind, his skill is very strong, and we're really excited about Patty and the development that he will have moving forward. And then finally, Vito Perkovic, 6'10", 250, every bit of 6'10", every bit of 250, skilled center forward is what he is. And he's a guy that can step out and shoot the basketball. That's probably what he does best right now, is his ability to shoot the ball and his touch, 6, 7 feet in. He's just got that typical international European game. He's from Croatia. He's been played with national programs over there. He's been coached really well. He went to Hamilton Heights, which is a premier, prep school here in Tennessee. And he came in. Now, the biggest thing with Vito is just going to be getting acclimated to the speed of this game, the physicality, and get himself in elite shape where he can do what he does best. And that's where he really focused this summer, and he had a good summer. But his skill level at 6'10" is something that I think will really be a good thing for our program moving forward this year and beyond.
Coach, last thing for you, scheduling-wise, we're waiting on the official non-conference schedule to be released, but at this point we know a lot of the games already. Obviously, you guys will go to North Carolina. You'll take on Michigan State, St. Bonaventure, a lot of challenging games. And look, the fans, I think, have been asking for this, and I think they'll enjoy these matchups. I'm just curious as a coach, what's the balance like? You obviously – you want to schedule, you want to make it challenging, but you also don't want to make it just incredibly hard on yourself. So you got to have that balance there, but you also want to get yourself ready for conference play too. So just trying to put all that together, increase the difficulty, but also finding that balance. What's that like, putting this thing together?
Yeah, I think scheduling is more challenging than it's ever been before. I mean, I think scheduling is always a very intricate part of any program, but now you look at everything when it comes to rev share, when it comes to financial, decisions that are being made. So many new factors have just been thrown into the pot in scheduling. So there's no doubt, regardless, that we wanted to put together a very challenging schedule. And, I don't know, my opinion, without knowing this for sure, without doing the analytics, I think this will be one of the top, if not the top, non-conference schedule that ECU basketball has ever played. And again, I know the conference changing so many times. There's been different conference games. There's been different years where you've had different opponents non-conference-wise. But to have all of these teams on the schedule this year, and a lot of them will be on the schedule next year because they're the start of series games, whether they're here or on the road, as Richmond, the team that, will be going to Richmond this year. We know the Wilmington series, that will continue on for a long time. App State, Greensboro, those series will continue. And then you look at the teams, like you mentioned, North Carolina, Michigan State, St. Bonaventure. At this point, those are one-year deals, whether it's a tournament or a game at North Carolina. And then, so all of that, I feel like we've put a schedule together to really prepare us for American Conference play. I mean, that's a big deal for us. And I think this will be the type of schedule that fans, our guys, I know are excited about. And in the end of the day, Stephen, that's what we want. We want to continue to elevate this program. We want to elevate this program onto a national level. I have no problem saying that. I've said that from day one. We want ECU to be a national basketball program. That's been our goal. We're chipping away at that. I think we took a big step last year in the American Conference, what we did and where we finished. And I got no problem saying this. I believe we should have been in the NIT last year, and I think we were right there. And so we're going to keep chipping away at that. We're going to keep working, and schedule is such a big piece of it. And we are going to try and schedule like this as much as possible. But sometimes you have these visions of exactly what you want and how you want it to be, the balance, like you said, and it just can't work out perfectly. And so every year will be different, and this year, as we know, is the most challenging non-conference schedule that we've had since we've been here. But we want that. We want that. There's no time. It doesn't matter. Any of those 13 games, we got to be ready to go. And that's what our program wants, and that's what our guys want, and we're excited about it.
He is head coach Mike Schwartz going into year 4. Coach, we appreciate the time. Always awesome to talk with you. You're a great interview. You make our lives easier, so appreciate that, man. And enjoy some downtime if you get any before this thing ramps back up, but we appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate you guys and all that you guys do for Pirate Nation. I just can't wait for 10 days away. Let's go down there and let's take down that red.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Mike Schwartz, head basketball coach. We'll talk to him again before the season tips off. Looking forward to that. Appreciate his time on the program. We'll be right back to wrap up Hoist the Colors after this.
Turn your car into cash at Greenville Toyota. Cash in your trade-in today. Then get new Camry just $249 a month. Or drive a new RAV4, $319 a month. At Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Cash in your trade-in at Greenville Toyota. Get a huge offer when you trade. Then save big on a brand new Corolla, just $229 a month. Or get a Tacoma, just $319 a month. Secure your Toyota now at Greenville Toyota.
ECU fans, one stop for all things ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment here, Hoist the Colors on Monday, August 18th. Enjoyed our conversation with head coach Mike Schwartz. Philip Pilkington rejoins us for the final few minutes of today's show. I know a lot of people in the comments wanted to talk football, which we will continue to do. We'll have our Big Ten preview tomorrow. We'll also have our ECU receivers / tight ends over-unders, so stay tuned for that. We'll also have plenty of time to answer your comments. Philip, before we talk about the Schwartz interview, if we have time, you were out at the soccer pitch last night, which, by the way, Bill Clark's home field is the new stadium name. So awesome that the Clark folks are again being recognized for their outstanding work there. But the game against NC State, a lot of emotion. Gary Higgins returns, former ECU women's soccer coach, now at NC State, ends up in a 1-1 tie. How was the atmosphere out there?
It was great. It was a great turnout. Obviously, not as many students as you would have wanted, just due to students not being back on campus. So the Scallywag section, although passionate, was not as deep as it might be later in the season, but a lot of just the Greenville community out there. So that was great to see. I definitely think it was an emotional game. I think it's probably better for both teams that this came early in the season. That way they can kind of put them behind them. You know, as much as you try and make everything a nameless and faceless opponent, I think both coaches, without straight up admitting it, did kind of admit it after the game. Like, there was some extra emotion, tied into that game. So I think both programs can move on from this. I thought East Carolina played a little better in the first half, stayed a little better in the second half, and each team finds a way to get a point there in a 1-1 draw.
So 1-1 draw, and ECU will now head on the road to Richmond and VCU back-to-back, 3 days apart, as those are back-to-back road games. So I guess you can't stay in Richmond for that long of a time, but it'll be interesting to see. Kind of a rebuilding year, honestly, for really both programs, but certainly ECU after losing Coach Higgins, his assistant taking over. Any thoughts coming out of the Schwartz interview, Philip, as you listen to it?
Yeah, I liked the talk about how he feels like Reed Kaysen is ready to take that next step. I think we saw flashes of it last year, but we just didn't see him a lot on the court. It'd be anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes a game where I thought he was productive and clearly, was ready to be a Division I college basketball player. He just always didn't get an opportunity to get into the flow of the game just due to the lack of minutes, and I think it's going to be a big opportunity for him this year, and I think he's ready for it.
Yeah, a lot of, I'm curious how the shooting is going to break down. I feel like they've added more guys who can shoot. It's just that, are they knockdown shooters? And I don't know. I just haven't seen enough of these guys in practice. I just have a feeling this I kind of like what he said about the Vito Perkovic kid, 6'10", big, who could step out and shoot it. I'm not saying he's going to be the next, great international shooter, but he just seems to have some of those skills. So we'll see. A lot to learn about this basketball team. Obviously, you like that Jordan Riley's back and are working on his game, but you know what you have there, and you know what you have largely in Jay Shane Woodard and Trevi LeBeau. So we'll talk more basketball as we get closer to the opener, but it'll be all football from here on out leading into August 28th. We got Big Ten preview, also receiver preview tomorrow on Hoist the Colors. We'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in.